So listen up closely, guys. There is only one video for the entire week. I'm not going to give you the review part of it, so pay attention and listen. There's only one video. This notes, I'm going to give all 6 problems today. You can review this for all of your work for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Go back and review this. So take the notes. It'll be the same notes you need to use all week long. So do that for both Algebra 1 and Math 8 for this week and next week. So let's take a look at this. We did absolute value last week. We did not have this coefficient out here, this -3. We just had that. So what we did is we split that up and made one with the positive of the answer and one with the negative of the answer. However, we now have something outside the absolute value. And remember, if this was positive or negative, you can have 2 different answers. You can, if it's -3, you get 3. If it's +3, you get 3. Wow, a positive stays a positive, a negative turns to a negative because it's distance from 0. But this is not being absolute valued, so we have to get rid of it. And since it's touching the absolute value symbols, similar to if we had it like this, remember how that would be multiplication and you would distribute it? But these are not parentheses, so we don't distribute, but we can do the same thing. Since it's being multiplied, technically, we can go ahead and divide by -3 on both sides of our equation. And we're left with the absolute value of 6m minus 7, because our -3's are gone, equals, and -75 divided by 3 is 25. Now we're going to split this apart because all we have is the absolute value part. We got rid of this coefficient because multiplying means coefficient. So now we split it apart. We're going to have 6m minus 7 equals 25. And we're going to have 6m minus 7 equals -25. 2 parts of this question, guy, or this equation. 2 parts. You have to do both. Most of you guys have only been doing the one part. Must do both. Okay, so 2-step equation here. We're going to what's added or subtracted first. So since it's -7, we're going to add 7 to both sides of the equation. We end up with 6m on this side, and 25 plus 7 is 32. Then we'll divide by the 6 because it's being multiplied. We're left with just the m, and 32 divided by 6 is, what is that? That is not even, so 32 divided by 6 equals, and we're going to want the, I'm going to have to hit the shift here, there we go, 16 thirds. But and we divided both by 2, so half of 32 is 16, half of 6 is 3. That's where we got that. So that's one answer, and it's late, so I didn't do that in my head. I probably should have. I would have gotten it quicker than doing the calculator. So the -25 plus 7 ends up, let's see, maybe 20 -18. And divided by 6, and m equals -3. So there are 2 answers to the problem. Out of the way. Let's go ahead and look at that. Try to get that part out of your way there. So once again, we have the absolute value part, but we have something right there. But this is not attached to it. It's got plus. So we simply subtract it, just like we do in any of our equations. So we're left with all of this is equal to 4 minus 2 is 2. Once we get to that part where there is nothing attached, so there's nothing added or subtracted, there's nothing multiplied. So the first time we did it where something was multiplied, the next time we did it something was added. They could also be on one side, and we'll get to those. So once we get to all the absolute value, one can be positive, one can be negative, so we need to make sure that we do the whole thing once again, 1 as it sits, and 1 with it as a -2. So -2 plus 4b equals -2. And that's all we did. What it equals, we changed. Okay? Well, what's that as subtracted? Here's 2. So we're going to add 2 to both sides. We have 4b equals, and 2 plus 2 is 4. And then divide by 4. And 4 divided by 4 is 1. There's our first answer. Come over here again. Do the same thing as you did over here. You're really not doing anything different. Adding 2. We have 4b equals, and this time, -2 plus 2 is 0. Still need to divide by 4. B equals 0. So 1 and 0 are our answers. Okay? I hope you're able to see that. Here is the next one. And note that we have a coefficient because it's being multiplied, and we have something that's added or subtracted. So we're going to get rid of both of those right off the bat. Well, just like anything else, if all of this were just x, and it looked like 9x plus 1 equals 91, where I turned all of that into x, you would go ahead and subtract the 1 first, and then divide by the 9. Well, just like that, we're going to do that here. So we're going to subtract 1. We'll left all of this. And 91 minus 1 is 90. Now we're going to get rid of the coefficient. And how do we do that? We divide by 9. The 9's now are gone, and we're left with the absolute value of 8 plus 3r equals, and 90 divided by 9 is 10. Now we have it just as an absolute value. We can split it apart now. So we have 8 plus 3r equals 10. That's what it says. And then we do it with a minus 10. So 8 plus 3r equals -10. Since it's plus 8, we're going to subtract the 8 from both sides. 3r equals 2. And divide by 3. And it's r equals 2/3. That's our first one. Over here, we are going to, once again, subtract by 8. We have 3r left over, and -8 and -10 is -18. Divided by 3. And that would be -6. -18 divided by 3 is -6. That's our second answer. Keep paying attention, keep going. If you think you know how to do this and you're hammering it out, go ahead, get out of here, stop the video, go on. If you need to take notes, take notes. Remember, this is the notes, it's all for the rest of the week. Once again, now look here. That 5 is attached to that, the similar as if it was attached to a 5x. That would be multiplication. So we know that's the multiplication part. We're not going to do that first. We're going to do the added subtracted part. That's the 3. So that's a plus 3. We're going to subtract 3 from both sides of the equation. We're left with the 5, absolute value of x plus 9, absolute value symbol, and 63 minus 3 is 60. Now we have that 5 being multiplied to the absolute value symbols. Remember, this is not distribute because this is not parentheses. These are absolute value symbols. They are straight up solid lines, okay? So we're just going to get rid of it. And you can't distribute it because these are absolute valued and this isn't. So they're kind of like they're not like terms. So you can't put them together because they're not like terms, okay? So we're going to get rid of them. So our 5's disappear. We have 3x plus 9 equals, and 60 divided by 5, what is that? 12, okay? So now we have that absolute value part. We can split this apart. So we'll have 3x plus 9 equals 12, and 3x plus 9 equals -12. So there's that plus 9. So subtract 9 from both sides of the equation. I have 3x equals 3. Divide by the 3. That's our last step. You guys should know this. Easy peasy. And 3 divided by 3 is just 1. Same thing over here. Subtract by the 9. We have 3x equals, and negative 12 and negative 9 would be negative 21. Divide by 3. X equals negative 7. And we have one here that it's not a usual one. We don't have a fraction, but works out. Once again, I'm going to do 2 more. You have that on your notes. If you got this, go on. You don't need to keep watching the video. Get moving on it. Do what you need to do. Once again, a coefficient. Once again, a constant. Pretend kind of that looks like an x. Like this would be 9x. That whole thing would be x minus 9 minus 10. So it would look kind of like that. That's how we treat it. But that's not true. We have all this. So the first thing we're going to do on this equation is go ahead and add 10 to both sides of the equation. Our 10s are gone. We're left with that whole thing. 9 absolute value, 4 times k plus 2 absolute value symbol. And 44 plus 10 is 54. We're going to divide everything by the 9. That's that part. We're left with that absolute value, 4k plus 2 equals, and 54 divided by 9, that would be 6. And do I get my absolute value in there? Yep, there it is. So now we have, I'm sorry, that's a 2 in there. No, it's hard to see, so that's 4k plus 2 in there. So we split that apart. So 4k plus 2 equals 6, and 4k plus 2 equals negative 6. So 1 positive, 1 negative on the answer part of that. We're going to subtract 2 from both sides of the equation. We have 4k equals 4. Divide by 4. And 4 divided by 4 is 1. That's our first answer. Once again, over here, we're going to go ahead and subtract by 2. Our 2's are gone. We're left with 4k equals, and well, that's negative 8. And divide by 4. K equals negative 2. 2 of them there. Looks good. All right. So let's go on here. Let me cover those up on the bottom there. We don't want you to get confused at all. Here, now this is that other one that looks kind of weird, but that 10 is attached to that absolute value symbol, so that's the multiplication part. I'm going to put a dot there. Sure, go ahead. This is the add subtract part, but we look in front. So it's plus 4. So we're going to subtract 4 from both sides of the equation. So our 4's are gone, but that is negative 10 remaining. And then the absolute value is 7 times n minus 7, absolute value symbol. And negative 66 and negative 4 is negative 70. Then we divide by the coefficient, what's being multiplied, right? So we're going to divide by the actual negative 10 itself, because negative 10 divided by negative 10 is 1. 1 times all of that is that. So 7n minus 7, and remember we're looking at absolute value here. And negative 70 divided by negative 10 is 7. Split it apart. 7n minus 7 equals 7. So we got a lot of lucky numbers here. We're also going to do the negative of that, so 7n minus 7 equals negative 7. Handle it that way. That 7 is multiplied to the end. We're going to carry on that to the end. So we're going to add 7 to both sides of the equation. 7n, and then 7 plus 7 is 14. And our last part, divide by 7, n equals, and 14 divided by 7 is 2. Okay, run over here. Add 7 to both sides of the equation. We're left with 7n equals, well, 7 minus 7 is 0. Still going to divide by the 7. N equals 0. More than likely, these are a lot in here that came out to be exact numbers, but you will have fractions. As a matter of fact, you probably more than likely will have fractions on one or the other, okay? So if you don't get it, go back, watch the video again, watch the video again. If you don't get it, Zoom with me. You can Zoom with me at our time at 9 a.m. in the morning. I know most of you guys are got your days all screwed up. You do it at 9 a.m. in the morning, or you can Zoom with me at 1:45. So figure it out, get there, do your work, get it turned in. Take care, guys. Be safe.